Hi there, welcome to another episode of Around the Table with Powerful Women. I'm Christi Daniels.
I'm Wendy Love Edge.
And I'm Joy Caffrey.
And today we have a special guest, Zivah Kirk, soon to be
Zivah Criswell.
All right. So I'm going to read a little bit about Z's background. So Zivah Kirk is a lifelong seeker on a journey back home to herself. She's made the study of self-love her life purpose. Learning to love herself to wholeness while empowering women to love themselves, while being guided on their own path to healing. She began with a psychology degree and then spent the next 2 decades pursuing a variety of studies, including counseling certifications, hypnotherapy, dance-based movement practices. Yay. I think we've all danced with Z.
Yes.
Organic foods and natural health supplements, and most recently a cannabis health coach certification.
Yay. Yes.
So Zivah is on a mission to help women find the answers to their most pressing questions about health, happiness, and love through movement, nutritional supplements, cannabis education, and community. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what brought you to self-love.
Well, it's something near and dear to my heart because as many of us through childhood, we don't get all of our needs met emotionally, mentally, physically, one way or another. And so we're always seeking for something. And at a very early age, I remember feeling unworthy, not valued. And so I would strive very, very hard to be the good girl, to please everyone. And as most women, especially in the Western world, really all over the world, we're socialized that way.
Size of understanding.
Yes. Yes. So that was early. And then my very first inclination that maybe something wasn't right with that mindset was when I went to college for psychology. And so I started learning different ways of thinking and behavioral psychology and cognitive psychology. And so that, of course, as college always does, opens up your mind. And then my first job out of college was actually in child protective services. So that's when I learned that my childhood was not necessarily normal like I thought it was. And so that was a big catalyst for me for healing when I realized that, child abuse is so prevalent. And it can be emotional, not just mental or not just physical. So that started me down the path. And then just being a lifelong learner, I got my psychology degree. I wanted to go to grad school, but I had 3 young children at the time. I needed to work. So as things go, life doesn't turn out the way you plan. But I'm happy now that I didn't go on to grad school and go on to get a PhD and be in academia like I thought I was going to be, because I got to do something even more fun and pursue alternatives to traditional training. So the whole time with self-love, the biggest thing that really brought it home to me, I was very body conscious, self-conscious. I wasn't very aware of my body even after having children. I wasn't real in tune with my body, but a friend of mine performed belly dance, and I saw her belly dance at this event, and I was just enchanted. The music, everything about it, and I was so shy, and I was scared to even ask, but I finally got up the courage to ask her to teach me, and I went to my first class, and it was nerve-wracking, and it was hard, but I left feeling so elated, and I just absolutely loved it, and so I was obsessed after that, and belly dance brought me out of my shell, and it introduced me to my body. I became aware of my hips and how I can move my body and how good it feels to be in your body instead of stuck in your head. So belly dance career of a couple of decades was one of the biggest catalysts for my own self-love journey, and it's why I teach movement so much to women.
And getting comfortable in your own skin and with your own body and allowing for movement.
And accepting pleasure. Pleasure as a birthright for women is not emphasized as it should be. And there's nothing wrong with being in beautiful clothes or things that make you feel sensual or enjoying that pleasure. it's such an important thing for women and men, for everyone, but women especially. We get shamed sometimes when we want to dress that way. So belly dance was the biggest thing, and that led me on a journey. Got a bunch of different movement certifications. I learned a little bit of yoga. I learned a wonderful dance practice called Koya, which is solely, it's a guided, it's not so much taught like traditional dance classes. It's a guided experience. We start with oracle cards to help you get out of your head and into your intuition and get your voice in the room. There's meditation, there's some yoga, and then there's free dance all the way through it, including a shadow dance where you just let whatever emotions are coming up be without any censorship. And then we shake it off, and then we celebrate whatever the theme is for that class. And that movement, it's helping women to get out of their head and into their bodies and actually recognize where emotions can get stuck in your body. And so that led me to embodiment and practicing embodiment practices, which are very sensual, like dance and movement, but also enjoying bubble baths and good food and just the 5 different senses, so exploring all that. So I've developed some workshops and teachings around becoming embodied through movement and indulging in the 5 senses. And every step along the way, I've learned more about self-love. And self-love isn't just eating a box of chocolates while you're sitting in the bathtub, which is amazing. Everybody should do that in the bathtub. I mean, it's a bubble bath. It's wonderful. But it's also getting the exercise that you need to feel good. It's like eating the foods that your body needs, taking the supplements, drinking the water, doing the work that needs to be done, and even parenting yourself. And so that's a lot of the work that I did.
I think that's an important part, too, because people can understand self-care. Oh, I need to go to bed early. I need to drink more water. But a lot of my clients, too, when we open up the topic of self-love, they're like, but I don't know how to do that, other than the drink more water and eat more food. So I like that you're saying the parenting and
or even the practices of exercise and caring for your body. Some people look at that as not a loving thing. They look at it as, well, I have to do this. This is work. This is even a punishment for eating something they shouldn't have eaten. You know, when really it's all about self-love and self-care. And the more that you can kind of flip that narrative in your head, the easier it is, I think, to do those things.
And I also love the thread of pleasure through all of this, because it's there's a new book. I'm probably going to say this almost every episode. There's a new book called Patriarchy Stress Disorder. Please get the book. It's amazing. She's talking in there a little bit about pleasure and about how it's almost as if we're not acclimated to receiving self pleasure from all different outlets. It's we're our nervous system, we can survive, we can push through, we can force it, we can do these things, but then to go to this place where we're feeling pleasure and we're indulging and we're enjoying, and there's everything right with feeling good in our bodies, everything right with all of this, it can be a challenge.
And a lot of us grew up with that Puritan ethic value, right, where you diminish that pleasure, right, and do just the rudimentary. And so it's reteaching ourselves.
Because it circles back around to feeling unworthy. Like, do I deserve to feel this good? Do I deserve to have this attention from someone else that brings me so much pleasure? Do I deserve? And that's been, I tell you, it's a daily practice. So it's not, I've achieved this and it's done. It's a lifelong practice, because sometimes, something will happen and an old pattern will resurface that you have to deal with again.
And I think it's like growing your muscles, your ability to tolerate feeling good. And then to expand into that, that's the new normal, let me stretch it even more.
And it's not indulgent or selfish. It's a positive thing in your life to feel that.
Yeah, and that's a big one, is feeling selfish about it, because that was me, and my mother was a martyr, and so I learned that pattern, and I was like, I'm going to be the best wife and the best mother and keep the perfect, try to do it all and please take care of everybody else, to the extent of not taking care of myself, and to even feeling guilty about doing anything to take care of myself. So that was a big thing, is learn that self-love and pleasure and taking care of ourselves in those ways is not selfish. And if you love yourself and you fill your own cup, then that will overflow and they'll spread to everyone around you. You can be a better mother, a better lover, a better friend, a better partner, a better person in the world if you fully love and accept yourself.
Yeah.
The way that I like to distinguish for my clients between selfish and self-love and self-care is selfish is at the detriment to someone else. Like
Yes.
someone directly gets harmed by you doing something egotistical that fed you, right? And self-care and self-love, like you said, puts out a ripple effect. As we feel full and enjoying life, we're so able to spread that vitality to someone else. Right?
And it's so powerful with other women to model that, because that gives other women permission to do that themselves. They're like, oh, she can do that. Oh, okay, yeah, it is okay.
It's okay.
Yeah, and I'm seeing this difference right now between how so much of society trains us to kind of almost be anemic, like you're
To be what?
anemic, like you know, it's almost like if the tinier you are, the skinnier you are, the less space you take up, the more value. The quieter your voice, the more valuable, and you know, like all these things. When in all actuality, like being in the fullness of who we are, being, you know, that feels amazingly different, right? And giving ourselves permission to take up that space, and that's what I know I've experienced in the Koya classes that I've
Yes,
done
the permission
right?
to take
the
up that
permission,
space.
yeah,
to
the body
take up
workshops and
space.
things like that. It's you know, being able to reclaim those parts of ourselves and be fully in ourselves, which is like I like to switch selfish into the word self-full.
Self-full.
So it's like, you
That's
know, it's
wonderful.
like so self-full.
Yes.
To be, you know, to be able to just fully just have that cup full, you know, and just.
And as I want to add that as sisters to each other, I want to extend that. I want you to feel self-full, and I want you to feel self-full. So can we make space for each other to take up more and more room? Right? Can we get used to, like we're also used to being less than, smaller than, right?
Yeah.
With a lot of whatever is taking up the space, can we now say, I'm going to take up more space, and I'm going to bump into you taking up more space, and it's okay.
And that's okay.
And that's okay.
I'm not trying to take your space.
Right?
Yeah.
That we can
Filling up.
share.
There's room for all
we
of
can
us.
share, right? Yeah.
It's
Yeah, definitely. That a metaphor of a candle lights another candle, and it doesn't take away from the original candle's light. It
That's
just brings
right.
more light and
thank you.
illuminates more. And that's definitely it.
So you've kind of switched gears a little bit with your career. And
Yes.
I'd love to learn more because I'm a cannabis activist myself.
I know, it's wonderful. And I really appreciate everything that you've been doing.
Oh,
so,
thank
and
you.
I'm ready
I'm
to
so
get
excited
involved.
to hear about this.
Excellent.
So you are now a cannabis coach. That's something
Yes.
that you've been working on.
Yes.
What is that exactly?
So yeah, that was my question when I first heard about it, because I was like, what? I never even heard of this. What is a cannabis coach? So everyone's heard of life coaches and health and wellness coaches. So a cannabis coach is very similar, with the primary goal of educating and guiding clients through the use of cannabis, which means THC and CBD, to address whatever symptoms that they are experiencing, or to get them from point A to point B to where they want to go, along with movement like yoga and dance, nutrition, supplements. So it's a more holistic program, because cannabis is not a cure-all necessarily, but it is so good for so many things. And the reason why it's so good for so many things, and pardon me while I geek out, because I'm really excited about it. The more I learn, the more excited I am. My favorite classes in college were science classes. So the more I dive into it, the more I'm like, yes, this is the way I want to go.
And
So,
it's great that you're pointing
yes.
that out. There is a science to it.
Yes.
It's not just a bunch of stoners sitting around.
No.
Oh, that's okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But that's not what we're talking about.
Right, no.
Right.
And if you go to like PubMed or anywhere, there is so much research to it. Now, sadly, not enough in the U.S. because of the laws, but there is so much research to it right now on CBD and THC and other cannabinoids on the efficacy of it for a wide range of things. And so the reason why cannabis, which is hemp, marijuana, CBD, THC, the reason why it's so effective for seemingly so many different ailments is because we have a system in our body that it communicates, intercellular communication system in our body. It's found in our brain, our spinal cord, our immune cells, our glands, our skin, everywhere. It's called the endocannabinoid system. And it was named after that because we have endogenous cannabinoids that our body makes. Anandamide and 2-AG are the two most studied ones. And anandamide, you may have heard of before, it's called the bliss molecule because it helps you to feel happy, but it also helps you with sleep, with mood, with appetite. It actually helps you forget, which a lot of people are like, well, why? Well, if you had trauma or traumatic experience, you would want to forget that. So anandamide is one, and 2-AG actually helps with inflammation, which helps, all of that together helps to bring your body back in balance. That's the chief reason why you have endocannabinoid system, the largest receptor system in your body, is to help your body maintain homeostasis. So when that body, newest research is showing that a deficiency in endocannabinoids is actually the root cause of various things like fibromyalgia, sleep disorders, migraines, and so on and so forth, chronic pain. So when you have a deficiency in endocannabinoids, there's different ways that you can boost your endocannabinoid system with supplements and, believe it or not, exercise, moderate exercise. It used to be believed that endorphins was the runner's high, but they're actually believing now it's your endocannabinoids levels are boosted with moderate exercise. So supplementation, omega-3s have a direct, but also you can take phytocannabinoids, which are found in the cannabis plant. And that's THC, CBD, CBG, CBN. There's a whole bunch, there's over 100 cannabinoids in the plant. So all this research is coming out. So in prohibition states where you're not able to get marijuana or cannabis legally, there is CBD products available, and CBD is very helpful. But in states where it's medically or recreationally or both legal, cannabis coaches are helping everyone all across the U.S., but cannabis coaches, and my focus especially is women, and the largest segment of the population starting to use cannabis for health issues are seniors. And seniors may not be comfortable going into dispensaries and may not understand all the new ways that they can consume cannabinoids. And so getting that guidance and getting the stigma removed from that is what a cannabis coach does.
There has to be a lot of education and removed.
Yes, education and guidance.
So much stigma. So I was going to ask you to kind of bridge that, because you've been for women's health and rights for a long time and working with women. So how will you use this specifically with women, the knowledge that you have and the assistance for
Thank
coaching?
you for asking. Yes, so my ideal client, so I will be focused on women midlife, like 35 or older even, that may be experiencing issues because of hormone things. Either their periods are not regular, or they're going into perimenopause or menopause, and there's so many symptoms that come along with that. That cannabinoids can assist with. And so dealing with that's first, and also sexual health. Cannabis is great for sexual health. As women age, maybe our libido drops, maybe that we experience dryness, maybe, there's all these different things. Experience with sleep disruption, we have hot flashes, we have just all different things that come along with the aging process, and cannabis can be used internally, topically, can be used a lot of different ways. And that's something else that I'm getting trained in, is how to teach my clients how to make their own salves, how to make their own edibles, if they don't want to smoke it, all the different ways. So education on how to use it. And the number one goal of a cannabis coach is to assist our clients in using cannabis effectively. So not just saying, oh yeah, you got to go buy this, but helping them figure out what they need and what works for them, and guiding them in the process and holding them in accountability. As we all know, it's easy to get a lot of information and be like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. But if nobody's there to be like, hey, how are you doing this week? Have you gotten this done? How can I help you? You don't have the accountability partner. It's not very often that we necessarily follow through. So, as you know, coaching is a very valuable tool with that.
And I can imagine somebody having no experience and then coming to you and all the questions that would come, right? And, presented with all these different options and how to find their own way through that. having somebody like you hold their hand. And
Yeah, I like that it's so individualized.
Yes, it is. It's very much tailored to the client. And it depends. If they know already a whole lot about it, I won't go into the deep science. If they want more information, we'll talk about it. We'll find the research. So being a cannabis resource, not necessarily an authority or the guide, but being a resource for my community is a goal, and for my clients for sure.
I was thinking when you were talking about the movement classes too, like someone who may have a lot of inhibitions, if they are a cannabis patient, it could be used as a tool together with that.
Yes, Ganja Yoga is really big on the West Coast right now. And so
Tell me what it is.
Ganja Yoga is what it's called. And it was developed 10 years ago. Denise, I'm trying to remember her last name. I was just reading about her. But she actually opened that up, and people practice. They come and they partake, and they do yoga. And it's a nice restorative, yin type yoga, but it enables them to relax and to get through the moves and be more focused and more in their body, which is what I'm all about, the embodiment. Cannabis can really help you focus in the now moment, and of course release the stress, and just can help your yoga or movement practice, your meditation practice, just anything much better.
Right.
So
I could see that as somebody who so people don't think of cannabis as something that can bring you into the moment and focus.
Right. I think of it as taking me out of my body, not putting me in my body.
So that's an important point you made.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Yes, and of course there are all different types of cannabis and different ways to take it, and you'll have different effects depending on how you take it. Even CBD, you can use CBD, which is a cannabinoid and is a very important one for inflammation and pain. You can use that topically, you can take it internally, and it does help with a wide range of ailments as well. So there's CBD, and CBD actually works better as a full spectrum or broad spectrum product where you have a little bit of THC in it. And legally you can sell CBD products that have up to 0.3% THC in them and other cannabinoids. And so the full spectrum product will just really help your body much better than an isolate. So educating the client on that, but also THC helping you to get more in your body depending on the strain. If you go into a dispensary and you've never been in a dispensary before, you don't know anything about strains or THC or terpenes. Terpenes is one of the biggest things right now is going on. There's not a lot known about it in the dispensaries around here. Some of the bud tenders have gotten some training on terpenes, but the flower isn't graded with terpenes. So you have to really ask a lot. So terpenes are these volatile substances or oils that make lavender smell so good, or pine smell so good, or citrus. And so there's these 8 main terpenes that they've identified. There's really a lot more than that. But these terpenes actually have an effect on your body as well as the THC and CBD. It's called the entourage effect with all of the plant compounds. So there's terpenes and flavonoids as well as the cannabinoids. And so the newest research is showing that depending on if you want to get energized and feel happy, or if you need help sleeping, or you just want help with pain, the terpenes play a role. So learning about that, but that also affects whether you have more of a head high, or if it's more cerebral, or if you have more of a body high where you're more in your body or relaxed if you're taking THC. So there's just so much info, and if someone is new to it, that's where the Cannabis Coach comes in to really help guide them. Helping them empowering them to learn what to ask for and what to look for according to what their needs are.
So this can be super complex. I'm just hearing you talk about if you don't know the different acronyms. So what would someone need to know, want to know? What would you recommend they find out or understand before they go to a cannabis coach? Or
Well, anything. They wouldn't really have to know anything, because that's the point of a cannabis coach, is to talk with them and find out what they're needing. So whatever issue that they're having, whatever problem that they want to be addressed through the coaching process, whether it's they need more sleep, they have pain, they're stressed out, they're depressed, whatever it is, they're having hormone issues, then the coach will do an intake. I will do an intake and speak with them and educate them, but tailor it to what they need to hear and find out what products, how they want to use it, and we would just get started with the whole process. So we would learn and grow together.
Gotcha.
It's just, even if you don't know anything about it at all, I can help you.
I love it that you're combining it with some of all these other skills and experience that you have.
Yes.
And then there will be people that maybe aren't interested in cannabis. Maybe you can educate them and they're still saying, that's not really for me, but you have all these other things that you can tap into.
Right.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and I did work at a natural food store for 7 years in the wellness department, and I received so much training on supplements. They were excellent about supplemental training, and the companies themselves would come out, and that's where I got my first training about CBD and the endocannabinoid system, and where it really started getting me interested. I started using CBD years ago when we first got it, and so that started me on the path. But just the training that I've had for the natural health supplements and diet and all, it all combines with the movement too, for sure. It's very exciting.
I love your target audience too being women sort of in the middle of their life, because I think for many women that's when they really start to question a lot of things and understand their body a little bit more, but maybe they just aren't sure what direction to go in. You know, I don't know if that's something you experience with women that come to see you.
Definitely. And really the number one client for life coaches are women, and women in midlife especially, because we do. And then something about just getting that permission to learn and grow in a new direction. Maybe you spent the whole first half of your life raising a family and devoting yourself to a career or whatever, and then there's a change and you have this opportunity to have the second half of your life maybe be completely different, you know, so it's a wonderful time.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm noticing is, and I'm guessing in here that would be really beautiful for women, is that, you know, there's so many changes we go through. I mean, we birth new beings through our bodies. There's all of these, you know, and for someone who might be trying to deal with it themselves, and, you know, these changes that are showing up and thinking it's something wrong with them, and being able to get relief in so many different areas, you know, I could see how that would be really beautiful and life altering for someone.
Yes. And just having the opportunity to speak to another woman that maybe has gone through something similar, or just to have your voice heard and validated, that your whole experience, you know, a lot of women feel like they're crazy or they're going crazy because they, you know, they don't really want to talk about these subjects they don't feel safe talking about it necessarily with a doctor.
Right.
So having someone that they can just totally, you know, no judgment, just be accepted and talk about it, and then be like, oh, because that's happened so many times. Even in my Koya classes, women, you know, because we have community and women start talking, and one woman will be brave and share her experience, and another woman across the room will be like, I'm so glad you said that, because I felt that too.
We speak for each other right in that way, and we need each other to speak.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So you're about to go through a life change yourself.
Yes.
You mentioned at the beginning that your name is going to change.
Yes, I'm getting married. I didn't think I would get married again. I planned on being single. I've been divorced for 5 years now. Yes, 5 years, and planned on just living the single life and building a career and business. And then, of course, the universe was like, wait. Hang on. So I actually, at one of my first workshops, art and movement workshops, where I offered Koya and art, the love of my life walked in, and I had no idea. And so we were friends first for a couple of months, and then we realized, that constantly texting each other and wanting to hang out and everything, it was a little more. I was like, I remember that feeling. So we started dating and got engaged last year, and we're getting married April 4th. So congratulations. Thank you. And the universe couldn't have brought me a better partner, someone who challenges me and supports me, and just really... And we couldn't be more different sometimes. As she always says, contrast is beautiful. So our opposites have combined in wonderful ways. So.
That's nice too. I was thinking, you know, for people who are listening or watching, you know, I think sometimes when you meet someone who's empowered and educated, and you see that they're stepping into something like this, a marriage, you know, what does that mean for that empowerment? You know, what are things they can look for so that they don't lose what they've gained?
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey, actually, and as amazing as it is, and of course on social media, you know, everything looks perfect and rosy and wonderful and romantic, which it is. But there's also, I mean, relationships take work, and the number one thing, which oh, thank goddess I have it now, is someone willing to communicate. So the number one thing is being able to communicate and trust that you'll be heard. And even if it's hard, or even if you get mad at each other, coming back together and having that devotion to each other, that we're together through this and we're going to work on it. We actually are going to counseling, premarital counseling, we were like, okay, we just want to make sure that we can talk and talk
Most
about
relationships need supervision of some kind.
Yes. Yes. And our therapist is amazing. I mean, and we actually see her separately. And when I was in there last week, she was like, called me on my stuff. And like within 5 minutes, I was like, oh, okay. This is what I needed to hear, but it's uncomfortable, but thank you. So.
Well, it's
Yes.
been really delightful getting to know you a little bit and learning about
Thank you
all
so
of
much
this.
for having me. I'm
Thank
super
you.
excited. I could talk for hours.
So would you have any last words, any last ideas, or something you want somebody watching this to know?
Yeah, just reach out. Reach out to a friend if you need to talk to someone. You're worth it. Reach out, speak with someone. If you're curious about CBD, THC, cannabis, that whole thing, because it is medical, is legal in Arkansas right now. I actually have a medical card. So there are people that can help you. And so just reach out, and it's okay. You are definitely worth it.
Where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook currently, and then I'm working on getting my website set up for my new cannabis coaching business. So we'll have that added when this gets published.
So by the time this is edited, we'll have that in the show notes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
But right now on Facebook, you can look up Zee Kirk, Kirk, and that's my Facebook page.
Thank you.
So,
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you so much for being
you're welcome.
here.
Thank you.
All
for
right,
having
here's
me.
to
Here's to
it.
it.
Edgy, soulful, and joyful life. Thank you for joining us.